a very volatile matchup for LoLPro because Yusui wants to kill you in lane. He's the kind of guy who's like, I need to get these kills, I need to get ahead. And Jesiz is like, I'm gonna throw bombs, I'm gonna be okay. I'm just gonna wave clear and we'll be good.
He's that annoying person you don't ever want to lane against. It's like, you're just playing so safe. What am I gonna do?
Let me kill you.
Yeah, just please let me dive you. I just wanted that first blood. But the bans, they came on through very, very fast. From the side of Coast, we see Zed, Syndra, and Jace taking away a lot from Yusui. That is 3 of his major pickups. And then from the side of Team LoLPro, we see Rengar, Maokai, and Xerath. Xerath big for Jesiz, Rengar huge for Impaler. We had that 3 versus 1 in the river in the earlier stages of this tournament. So Maokai, pretty standard. But Gnar slips on through.
I know, Gnar slips on through, so Cris is going to have that in the top lane. And these bans were very quick, like you said, but I'm pretty sure they were thought through extremely well. Because there's 4 mid lane bans right here, but Jesiz still manages to get a top tier pick for himself in that mid lane. And those are all towards Yusui. And I said this is a very volatile matchup where he wants to kill you in lane. He doesn't really have too many tools left to get kills, and Orianna is an extremely safe laner. When you think of a laner that just wants to farm and then scale into the late game, you're like, Orianna.
I'm trying to think.
Clear mid, go get their wraiths. Clear mid, go get our wraiths. Just back and forth, clear, and then you show up with a team fighting, changing ultimate.
Now I'm going to try to decide what Yusui's going to default to now, because without those 2 major assassins in Zed and Syndra, there's not all too much left that he can go for high kill potential, especially on the Orianna. He would have definitely loved to snag that up. But
he's got like Ahri. That's about it.
Ahri, possibly. Mid lane Soraka, you know, with the changes to her, honestly, it could work out, but pairing that with the Graves is a great combo.
They have 280 carries right now.
Oh, hold on. Corki mid, AP. Let's go. Let's bring on the AP Corki.
So Yusui's going to bring out, looks like it's probably going to be an AD Corki. I mean, maybe he's just going to be like, oh, Graves
AP Corki's still pretty good.
Graves is the new boy mid laner. I don't know. But we're going to have to see what ends up happening there, but it might throw them for a loop. They take off multiple AD carries off the field there. So Mash, he's going to go with the Caitlyn, have a safe lane against either of them. And this is just, from Coast lineup here, it's pretty safe across the board. So they're playing to their strength, which is just sit around, let Impaler kind of affect the lanes, and then farm up, because they feel like they have the strategical advantage in shot calling, where I know LoLPro is actually a team where they don't have a defined shot caller. They are kind of that combined effort where everybody's giving their 2 cents, and then one person, whoever speaks the loudest, I guess, makes the decision.
That could be a little catastrophic too. Yeah. It could destroy the team fights at points. Like one person making a bigger call and someone else shouts, "Let's go for Impaler," and it's like, oh crap, the focus is now
just because you're louder doesn't mean you're right.
It doesn't mean you're right at all. But I love what they picked up. They got the Kha'Zix for Impaler, so he's going to be able to make good effect of that. He can farm up as well and just become a big powerhouse in that late game if he wanted to. And pairing Janna, Caitlyn, very, very safe lane. Can bully out Graves and Soraka even harder. And I'm interested to see when Soraka comes running at you with his 70% movement speed, I believe?
Yeah, I believe it's 70% when they are below, is it 30%?
30%?
Yeah, and then it's up to the range of whatever your W is, which is 450.
And then she just comes charging at you. Just want to heal you, just want to heal you. But the range is much lower on the heal, too. So you have to be in there. You're trading a percentage of your life. It's very, very calculated when you're playing Soraka. And the last pick is going to be the Rumble for Flaresz up top to go up against Gnar. That is going to be tough.
This is all mid-game. This is all a mid-game composition here for Team LoLPro. Rumble top, then they have the Jarvan for the Cataclysm and the Dragon fight. They have the Poke from the AP Corki mid, which is going to spike in the mid-game. And then they have Graves, which is just written all over mid-game AD carry with like 1-2 items.
It synergizes really well with the Cataclysm and the Equalizer. If they get that combo together with the collateral damage, boom, you're going to win a mid-game team fight really easily. But the safety that can come out of Team Coast, I would be scared for late game. So we're going to get into the game as soon as possible. But before that, if you want to tweet at us your predictions, your ideas of what this Corki is going to be, AD or AP, at LOL Esports, hashtag LCS expansion, and we want to know what you think. This is going to be a hype match. There's 2 matches today in total, and it's going to be a good day for Challenger.
Oh yeah, especially just want to see what happens with this matchup, because Coast, they picked this composition that's like, we're okay in the early game with farming. Oh yeah. Kha'Zix is going to try to affect the lanes. And then mid-game, LoLPro has all the cards unless something went drastically wrong for them. Gnar has really good power spikes around the mid-game in the level 11s and things like that for Orianna. So when you get to these dragon fights, they do have tools to win the fight if played properly on Coast side. But LoLPro, you know, they just have more cards in their hand.
All right, so we'll see who can who's playing with the bigger deck. So as they get onto the Rift, it looks like it's going to be... I was interested to see what KEITHMCBRIEF was going to do with this Soraka, if he was going to go more AP, but it looks like he went for the coin instead, and I like that.
I've seen 3 builds with Soraka. Some people start the Spell Thief's Blade, Spell Thief's Edge. Others start with the Relic coin because they want to have that sustain in lane. And I've seen people start Crystalline Flask or get Crystalline Flask first back because HP regen is extremely vital on her.
Yeah, and you can see the use there. It's a very low cooldown on that heal too. Like, I really enjoy it. Some early aggression is going to come out here from Coast as they want to get those deep wards, try to get the timers possibly on when Thinkcard's going to be looking to gank around. And we didn't really highlight it, but Thinkcard's a very aggressive jungler. And going up against Impaler, I want to see his level 3, what he's going to plan to do. If he just wants to farm, by all means, go for it. But what lane can he gank? It's going to be so hard for Thinkcard to make any aggression.
Yeah, it's very safe lanes across the board here for Coast with very mild gank assistance. Like, you don't see anybody going to be like, all right, we stunned them. They're going to be able to just come in and destroy them. It's kind of like, let's just survive the early game. Exactly, let's survive the early game. Let's get to that point where we have ultimates, level 6s, and then they can make moves from there.
Yep, so it looks like no lane swap, something tricky going to come on out here. And I'm worried for Flaresz, man. Cris, he's an amazing top laner. He's one of the a higher challenger ladder as well. He's sitting up there. I forget what it was. He was really close to #1.
He's always up there in the challenger ladder. He's always around that top 10 area. Him and like iKennyU. He was #1 for a bit. Cris goes back and forth on that, depending on how much he plays with the team or solo.
Yeah, mostly scrimming, you know, just trying to practice to get into the LCS. This is a big time for this guy. He wants to make it back in. Had a taste of velocity, so.
Look at this. It's the former Coast bottom lane here from the LCS. It's Mash and WizFujiiN. Both of them had their stints on the Coast in the LCS.
So I like this pairing too. Sheep, he's been adamant about taking the edge on Janna. He loves the AP, being able to utilize that with the shield and being able to just keep the damage coming.
Yeah, and it's not exactly the 2v1 lane that you get when you have a Soraka. Because Soraka is like, all right, I'm around here. I'm just going to let you 2v1 these guys.
Yep.
Whereas Janna's kind of like, I still have a lot of damage to offer, some CC to offer, and then the shield, which gives AD, which she can put on herself and walk up and auto-attack. Soraka's more, I want to stay behind you by like a tiny bit, like diagonally away from you, and then line things up, walk up, throw down an Equinox, and see what happens. Because that Equinox is fantastic in team fights too.
Yeah,
just speaking about more mid-game dragon fight power, like, what happens when you throw down a Cataclysm and somebody throws the silence underneath it?
Yeah, you get rooted up.
You're screwed for 3.5 seconds from the Cataclysm.
So that's a deadly combo in itself, and we're seeing Thinkcard. Yeah, he's... did he go over? Oh, this is a very sneaky gank. But again, Jesiz, he can heal for the movement speed if he wants to. He can flash away for safety.
Bottom.
This could be the loop around for the attempted first blood here. If they do get that silence and can manage to snag a root there, it could work out. Thinkcard shows himself. He's going to go with the flag and drag, but a good Howling Gale just disengages that completely.
Yeah, KEITHMCBRIEF not in position to set anything up, because that would have stopped the Howling Gale even cast to begin with.
Yep.
So you want to start with the Equinox to get the silence, because then it throws people off, because they're like, oh, no, because it's instantaneous silence. And you sit there and you're like, I hit Q. And you're like, my game's broken. Need a new keyboard. But no, you got silenced.
Yeah, that's one of the stronger abilities in the game, I believe. Just instant silences are something tough to deal with.
Yeah, AoE instant silence that zones people off and then roots immediately after its duration is really powerful.
And now we're seeing Impaler skitter around just a bit on that Kha'Zix, maybe looking to steal some jungle away from Thinkcard. And Thinkcard, man, we highlighted the aggression. He's not giving up. He doesn't care how safe these lanes are. He's going to try to force at least a summoner spell out or something.
Yeah, that's his style, though, and Impaler realizes that. Impaler is one of the most intelligent junglers that I've come across with his play. He knows aggression, he knows mechanics, and he also knows his opportunities and his windows.
Yep.
He's sitting there going, I researched my opponent. I know what he's going to do. Thinkcard's going to look for these ganks. I'm going to take his jungle, and then Thinkcard kind of does the same thing, but leaves a camp up for him.
All right, so leaves one of those little wraiths after brutally slaughtering his family. But, oh man.
It's dark, he just watched them all die.
I know, he's like, what am I going to do? Please, just put me out of my misery.
Spared you. You know what's going to happen? That Wraith is just going to become really big, come back later in 10 years and be like, you, Jarvan!
It's going to turn into a white.
Do you have 6 fingers on your head?
What? Alright, but the lanes in terms of farm, looking relatively even. The only big discrepancy is that top lane where Cris is about 10 up on Flaresz right now. That Gnar, the range matchup, dealing with Rumble, it's working pretty well for him.
Get him while he's silenced.
Yeah, no problem. Just get that free harass. The Rage Gene on top of it is a pretty big deal if you hop on in, and you could eat a lot of damage from Gnar.
He's going to get that transformation. It's going to heal him up that little bit that he took, too. That regen from Gnar is really big. Gnar has some of the lowest base stats in the game, but Gnar has the highest base stats in the game, just to compensate.
Yep. I gotta say, that transformation, man, it is really something else.
It's powerful, but you have no control over it, but you can kind of play around it.
Yes. If you can get a good hop in,
yeah,
then...
if your opponents know you well enough, know the champion well enough, they can play around it too, which is the counterplay that's intended.
Already some early battles for the pink ward spots too. I gotta say, defensive pink ward's working out pretty well for LoLPro, and don't see anything in the river just yet either. Just that one that Coast played earlier on. They're just trying to keep Thinkcard away, and he surprisingly enough hasn't noticed that.
And like that, Jesiz is actually wrapping around the top lane. The ward comes down. Sorry, Impaler wraps around the top lane. Jesiz was clearing, zoning Thinkcard off the mid. He's actually going to walk on top of a ward here.
He's level 6. I don't think you want to dive into an equalizer. I mean, you can use Gnar to tank that turret, but it's a little risky. We saw Westerice yesterday.
Yeah.
Play that really well.
Yeah, Flaresz right there was managing his heat to make sure that he didn't overheat himself and silence himself, just in case he got dove there. Mash's going to get rooted. No big deal, though.
Yeah. Janna, Caitlyn, a really big bully in the lane, as they can just keep forcing you out, so.
We haven't really taken too much stock of this mid lane, because there's just been action polarized on the other side, because Jesiz, like we said, very safe mid laner here. 52 CS, losing out a little bit to Yusui, who has that Sheen available to him, but has also been getting some jungle attention just in terms of having Thinkcard around in the area, which pushes Jesiz off a tiny bit, but he's already a very passive mid laner when he's on these farm champions. He trusts in his late game ability to pull off moves with shockwaves and to just get to that point. He doesn't want to be the point of weakness on his team, and he almost never is.
Yeah, he's very reliable. You can trust Jesiz quite a bit to be safe and farm up. So this is going to be the second rotation of buffs, or second spawning of buffs, and we're going to see the junglers get them pretty safely and maybe hop over to a blue for both mid laners to help them out with their spam. As they just keep throwing the orbs, the little ball out, as well as the rockets. So it looks like Yusui, though, he's found himself a little lead, and he's going for that Trinity Force rush with an early Sheen.
Yeah, nobody had a really kind of early game composition here. Like I said, LoLPro mid-game Coast has some team fighting around that mid-game. So very volatile matchup. Dragon fights are going to be very crucial for both of these teams when they come into it, because both team comps can play around those areas, around those timings, and it's all about what items you buy, how much CS you are down before that point, because these guys don't look like they're going to give up kills anytime soon. No,
and with teleport down for Flaresz, that's really big too. Cris could tell a team, all right, his teleport's down, we can try to force this 4 versus 5, this 5 versus 4, excuse me, and then if Flaresz starts running on down, you know, disengage, just try to turn the fight.
Yeah, and also the fact that Cris is actually countering his lane opponent with aggression, because he got the Hex Drinker. But look at this.
The ward clearing. Onto Impaler. They're going to slow down KEITHMCBRIEF. Ignite comes out. Helen Gale going to knock him out as well. A good Equinox. Silences up Sheep. Cris is now joining the fight. He goes in. Flash hop on top of it. KEITHMCBRIEF. Gnar into the wall too, man. As WizFujiiN is going to fall after that. It's going to be first blood for Impaler. They're going to seal a blue. Yusui, though, on the side, trying to poke them out. But they do get this blue, and Yusui's going to get zoned by Jesiz, and this should be a dragon.
Yeah, it's the fight right before it, too, that ends up being so volatile. And like you said, the TP up top was crucial, because he TP's down, no response from Flaresz, and it's rumbled. No way to interrupt that spell.
Had they had Equalize there, that would have been a different fight. That would have been a very different fight. Flaresz, though, finds some solo time. He's trying to catch up, but that dragon, those kills, very big for Coast.
Yes, and Coast is the type of team that has this strategical edge like that, where they play together. Like, I'm pretty sure Cris probably sat there and said, no, I will walk back to lane, very conscious decision after shoving it out, to make sure he doesn't use his TP, and then Flaresz uses his, and they call it. They make that invade happen, and then they place the pink ward, and the bait was just so well executed. You don't expect two members of the enemy team to come from your side of the map that early on.
No, you do not. And Cris played that really well, too. The hop, when you're in Little Gnar form, is a very large range you wouldn't really suspect. So he flashes in, hops in, and that two-man Gnar was superb.
Yeah, he just hit 100 rage then, too. He was ready for his rotation and very familiar with that champion, knowing how quickly after the TP he'd be able to execute that move.
Yep, and I like the pink wards. The warding on top of this has been really important for Coast. They've been taking control of the river. They control the blue side for a bit despite that pink ward being there, and they still managed to get control of the map this early on, and it's a really good sign.
Yep, and that's going to be 2K gold advantage for them just off of that one play that rewarded them the dragon. And now, Pro doesn't have as many cards in their hand. They kind of took away that early game card where it's like, all right, we have some lanes that can do well and farm up. What about these mid-game fights? Because dragon means you're not going to get another fight for about 6 minutes. And these teams, their engage is pretty much in the hands of LoLPro unless Cris comes down again.
And, I mean, Teleport will be up sooner for Flaresz, so they could put some pressure on the bot lane if they really wanted to.
It had to be a counter. It'd have to be.
It'd have to be Impaler initiating that and just leaping forward. And they'd have to be lucky enough to have that ward actually stay alive in the back of the brush. So, all the foresight in mind, Thinkcard, he hasn't found anything. It's hurting him quite a bit. He really wants to gank on this Jarvan.
Yeah, he looks around a lot. You can see just an item differential here because of the impact that Impaler had in that fight, picking up a kill and assist as well as the Dragon Gold. A little bit ahead, equal in CS for the most part, which just lies to you a little bit in the jungle.
Yep.
Thinkcard has been clearing a little bit more, a little bit less of the camps when he's clearing the enemy jungle. So he's getting more gold from it overall, but regardless.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
And Cris, too. You're seeing it right now. Flaresz can't really contest them at all. That boomerang damage is huge. He picked up an early Hex Drinker. I love that pickup against Rumble. It's going to be able to mitigate so much damage from him. Flame Spitter and Equalizer really won't matter too much to him.
Yeah, Gnar's base damages are really good, so you just need one item to really just take it to your opponent. Some people buy the Brutalizer. Some people go and they're like, okay, well, I guess it's Hex Drinker time. Just counter whoever your lane matchup is and then play it from there. Yeah, Cris is doing a great job.
Flaresz hasn't had any time to ward this lane either, so he is completely blind. Gnar comes in. They don't get him into the wall, so that stun does not connect. They'll slow him down with the Void Spike. He drops the Equalizer, trying to turn this one around. Thinkcard is there, going forward, and it doesn't matter. Cris gets the auto attacks, pops him down, and that's going to be one dead Yordle. Down bot, they're looking for some damage. Okay, they just trade it back.
A little bit too much of a turn there from Flaresz, and not enough of a flash towards his turret. A little bit off to the right side, and a very easy chase for Cris.
Yep, and once again down bot here. Mash and Sheep, just keep that advantage going, and I gotta say, they're playing that bot lane pretty well. I thought Soraka would be able to put up a little bit more of a fight, but she's really just sitting there healing.
Yep, keeping it even. Not harassing too much. KEITHMCBRIEF not able to deal with Sheep and Mash, which is a very, very tried and true combination that's been together for almost a year at this point.
A long time.
It's been a long time since these guys have joined up.
Gotta say, they've been making the synergy work, and they're finally here. You know, Mash has been trying. He's been in the finals, I believe, of every Challenger Series. He's been trying so hard to make it into the LCS.
He's at least made playoffs.
Yeah.
Because he was on Curse Academy when they lost to Complexity, and Complexity got 3rd place, and they got 4th, and then they couldn't make it to the promo tournaments. They've made playoffs of Challenger every time.
That's gotta be hard to face. You're just like, I get so close.
He's still not giving up, though.
Yeah.
And the fact that he combined with Sheep, and then Coast had some roster issues, is just one of those things that he's just been sticking through, and he just really enjoys this lane with Sheep.
I gotta say, though, the roster changes may have hurt Coast a bit, but they found great introduction of Jesiz and Impaler. They seem to fit really well.
Yeah, especially the style of Coast, which is very methodical. These guys aren't going to take too many risks. They're not a huge risk-taking team. And when you're like, who we want a non-risk-taking mid laner, it's like, oh, let's pick up Jesiz, which is fantastic. The only time he ever really takes risks on champions is when he's playing Ahri. And even then, he's just so good at that champion, that one assassin.
Yusui really wants this blue buff. Oh, Impaler failed the jump, but they don't get the steal. They force the smite, though, so they keep Yusui down and mana drain. Thinkcard, he can't really look to go into this Equalizer. They teleported Flaresz in, though. He's going to chase down onto Impaler here, but he's just going to be able to use that bug stealth and get away. So nothing out of it, unfortunately. They do force Cris down, too, with his teleport, but that's going to translate into a tier 1, possibly.
It's possible. They don't have their AD carry here just yet. See both of them just sticking out in that bottom lane because it was shoved out. It's just going to be wave clear. And Yusui's out of mana.
Yeah, so send him back to base, let him get his mana back, and reset the fight. Just reset everything. Yep,
reset it all. No TPs next time. And Dragon is up in 20 seconds, which is really big for these top laners. If Cris had just held off on his TP, it would have been another advantage for them.
Yeah, they would have got that tier 1 no problem. And he could have just kept pushing and maybe even got some tier 2 damage, but him TPing guaranteed that it wasn't a 5 versus 4, and it was just pretty much a non-lose situation. It's like, we don't lose anybody, no one dies, no one gives up anything objective-wise, so.
It was kind of the safer play.
Yep.
If that makes any sense. Using ability is actually safer.
That sweeper doesn't see it, man. Oh.
It was off to the left.
Just a bit. What? Yusui, he's going risky here. He's got to get the Valkyrie over the wall. Okay, not gonna run into it like Impaler. And Dragon is live too, so.
LoLPro's there first.
Let's see. They don't get too much coverage down. There's a lot more wards from the side of Coast taking control of that whole area.
Cris clearing out this mid lane. They have to bring the wave clear of Yusui to that mid lane because he's really the only one besides Flaresz, and Flaresz needs to be in position for his Equalizer because it's really close to coming up.
Oh, Wiz, man. He's getting chunked out so hard. Ace in the hole, too, is going to force him back, and that's just a free dragon.
Yep. Just that one dissonance plus the ace in the hole is enough to just stop LoLPro from even attempting the dragon.
Yep. I gotta say, this mid lane Corki, it's been farming pretty well, and he even picked up Sork boots too. Even AD Corki, when he's in the bot lane, will pick up that item, and it helps out a little bit more.
It looks like he's just gonna go AP anyway, because he's getting the Trinity Force.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just a standard build from Corki here.
I wouldn't be surprised if...
I think he's just gonna go full AD.
Yeah.
In this regard.
And with Graves back, this is gonna be a tier 1 down mid, down bot going down, and possibly down mid too. This is a good split pressure.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was like, we're calling it an AP Corki. It's pretty much just Corki.
Yeah, it's just
doing
regular
his
Corki.
thing.
Hybrid Corki. There we go.
Yeah. Corki's, yeah, usually people are like, the build path on Corki is like, do I get Sork Shoes or Zerker's Greaves? If you go Sork Shoes, it's like, all right, more spells.
A copter with a dream is what he is. He wants to fill all the roles he can. So, Blue's going around to Jesiz. They've been pretty good at making sure he can get every blue he can.
Yeah, man, if you're a copter with a dream, sky's the limit.
It is indeed. But helicopter's going to go so high, so... Don't want to pull a wax wing. Melt from the sun.
Is that Icarus?
Icarus, there we
Yeah,
go. I was looking for the name. I can't remember my Greek. But WizFujiiN, compared to the side of MASH, the Infinity's Edge has been finished up much faster. MASH me had that assist, so it boosted him just that tiny bit more. And gotta look for these fights. They can't let Coast keep bullying him like this. Like, no. Jesiz has been finding really good bursts when he can. And it's going to be tough to deal with, too. The shockwaves are going to be pretty big in this mid-game.
Yeah, we've yet to see one really go off.
Nope.
At all.
He hasn't used it at all.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is they're already 6k up, and this is the type of Orianna play that you see where you don't know how much damage he's going to do until you see that ability come out. You can kind of judge it, but then the first time you see it, you're just like, whoa, we got chunked out, everybody just got distance on top of it, we got to stop. Or we're all dead.
Yep.
It's one of those things where when you get in a top lane, sometimes it's better not to hit your lane opponent because then you show him how much damage you're actually going to do to him. You ever walk up and it's just like, I'm Renekton and I hit you. Oh no, I'm not hitting you hard enough. And then he's like, wait a second, I can fight you.
Yeah, he's got like that brutalizer. You're like, wait a minute, oh god, armor pen. But tier 1 in mid, it looks like it'll go down, and that's all three. Tier 1's gone, so now the pressure is on. Coast, what's the next objective for them? Are they going to look to try to secure a tier 2 here? They could just leave Cris split pushing. At this point, he's got his random wins. They can't deal with him.
Yep. 2-0-1-1, 100% kill participation on the top laner.
Yep.
28 CS over his lane opponent. He's in really good shape right now.
I like what they did there. Thinkcard dropped the flag and the aggro just goes straight to Kha'Zix, but it doesn't matter. They're going to steal the red. They get the wards over the side too, and who do they toss it over to?
Looks like it went over to
Jesiz? Jesiz, okay.
Yeah, Cris actually came down from top lane there because he was already shoving it out, so it was kind of a win-win situation there for Coast. If they had contested it, it would have just fallen into their hands anyway, and more kills.
Impaler was getting really ballsy there. You don't ever want to see him actually be aggressive towards you. That means that they're in a good position here. Flaresz, though, has got to be a little careful. He's overheated in silence. They slow him up with Zephyr. Cris is doing so much damage to the boomerang. Auto attack's coming in. He's going to transform, though, and he can't get in range. Use the hop to get in there, so... Unfortunately, that's it.
Yeah, he still had his flash, and he was thinking about whether or not he flashes and Gnars into the wall, but then he just retconned it, got out of there. Sheep had already tanked the first couple of shots, which was really good.
So, some good communication coming in from Coast right now, too. Janna's really good at tanking turrets, despite, you know, she might be a little squishy, but she just drops a shield on herself, and she's tanking 3 to 4 shots, and you're good to go.
And then you just get out, and you're like, all right, Monsoon!
Yep, just heal up. That's the best thing about the AP, too. It scales really well with Monsoon. So, this fight for this blue buff has been going on for a while. No wars from either side, and it looks like Pro will finally be able to get it, but Thinkcard snags it up, man. You want to see Yusui getting these so he can spam up those rockets, and this tier 2 now is going to be pressured because they wanted it. A teleport comes in from Flaresz. He's got to find a good equalizer if he comes in fully. He cancels it.
He's not going to get anything for that, too. It was just ill-timed. They were already backing off. There wasn't really a minion wave there at all for either side, so nobody's going to stick around.
Yeah, it's just, he really wants to make something happen for his team, but he can't. Not getting a good equalizer is so hurtful, and MASH is just able to stand there and take it. Ball on Impaler, too.
Flaresz is probably really conscious about his use of teleport this game.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I used it to get back to lane, then I got taken advantage of. Now I just used it again.
Whoa.
And that's going to be really big for Cris, because now he has his, and he's been using his very effectively. Every time Cris has used his teleport, something big has resulted from it, whether it was just a disengage, which was the one where it was like it could have been 4v5. That could have been a bad situation. Other time, picks up kills and starts snowballing the game for Coast. And that was really all that's happened. All right, they chunked out WizFujiiN from the previous Dragon, and the next one's up in 55 seconds.
Look at this ward coverage, man. 2 pinks have been sitting in the river for so long by that Baron pit. They had about a total of, I think it's 9 wards on that red side of the map, too.
Well, here's the thing, too, is their pinks are lining all of the river. Like, if you just look at that, one in the top, one near the mid-left, one near the mid-right, and then one in that bottom tri-brush. Coast is making it so that LoLPro can't even get into their jungle without being seen. You cover all options there.
You just completely shut Thinkcard down.
Yeah.
He couldn't do anything this game. He hasn't died, but he's trying to farm.
He's literally done nothing.
Yeah.
Died, assisted, he's killed some creeps.
Same could be said for Yusui. This mid lane Corki, he's been farming up, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to fighting, they're going to try to engage with the Cataclysm out of Jesiz. This could backfire on them pretty hard, but they get in the range of the ball, they silence smash up and slow him down. It's just kind of a bit of an ARAM going on right now.
Yeah, they just got a flash out of Jesiz, but that's the Cataclysm, and Dragon is up in 2 seconds.
Oh, man. This is going to be a big fight for them if they can get it. They try to get those Electro Harpoons on Impaler and chunk him down just a bit, but Cris is able to zone. That Boomerang just so strong at this point. The ward battles are going down in mid. They pop an ace in the hole, and WizFujiiN tanks it, but Keith can heal him up no problem. So giving him a little bit of that McBrief healing. They might just forfeit this Dragon as they just go straight towards mid. This tier 1 is very important to them. The ball's coming on through as well. Cris is going to get ready to transform here. They get the Flash Flagon Dragon from Thinkcard, but Jesiz is able to maneuver away from it. Jesiz picks up the kill on him. They get a Gnar and a Yusui. That's huge. Shockwave on top of it. Heals it, give him the speed to get out of there. The Wish is popped as well. WizFujiiN is getting zoned away by Sheep and Mash. He's forced to run.
Buff.
Red buff is going to slow him. Zephyr on top of it, and it looks like the heals are coming through. They flash over. Everybody getting him. KEITHMCBRIEF falls. There's the claws coming in from Impaler, and that's going to be a 3 for none.
And Coast, they just get a tiny bit in this game, and then they start rolling over them. This could possibly be a perfect game for Coast in terms of turrets, dragons, and kills.
The execution, man, it's been on point for them right now. They are very, very mechanically skilled players. Yusui, if he gets the steal with the big one, I'd probably just lose it. But let's see. Jesi's going to zone him out just a bit. The ball's coming through. Yusui can't risk it, and that's just going to be the first pattern of the game. Over to Coast.
Cover your options, zone out the person who could possibly steal it, and then you're all good. Wow. Just really, really sound play there from Coast.
This is stuff that you like to see on the Challenger scene. They've been learning, they've been adapting, including LCS talent into their roster, and just showing up right now.
Yeah, and people were questioning whether or not Coast had been tested with this new roster. Impaler had a really good showing on his Rengar. Played it both games, 13.5 KDA in those 2 games against Call Gaming. And Jesiz actually only died once in that series, having a 36 KDA in 2 games. So people were questioning whether or not they had been tested. But look at this.
Oh,
objective.
Man.
Ooh.
They do get the Dragon from the side of Pro, but at what cost? KEITHMCBRIEF is down, as now hopping in Cris is going to try to make something happen at this little mini Gnar form. He needs a little bit more range. The Equalizer is dropped, though. It's a 2 for none. Impaler on a killing spree. WizFujiiN's life is forfeit. He gets stunned up. They don't even need the rock to kill him. Impaler is there. That Kha'Zix is so strong. Doesn't even need Rengar.
4-0 and 4 on that top lane, or sorry, mid lane Kha'Zix. Whatever, he's between those 2. He's a jungler. Sorry. Sorry, I was like, oh, the kill participation. It's 3-0 and 5 for the top lane Gnar. Like, these guys are just going crazy. You would have thought it was the solo lane Kha'Zix with his score like that. And the amount of damage that he's pumping out, really, really, really potent right now. He has all the damage items he needs. He's going to start building tanky from there. But, man, Impaler is just running away with this game. Coast is running away with this game. 12k gold advantage at 24 minutes. Average gold advantage per minute is 500 gold. You're basically getting a kill and a half per minute.
All right, so liking the stats, liking the way Coast is playing. If I was LoLPro right now, I'd probably be thinking, all right, what did we mess up? Picks bans. We had no CC to initiate with Thinkcard.
I don't even think it was that much of a pick ban as much as it was the TP from Flaresz top and Cris outplaying that. That playing around those timers is really big, especially with the composition that LoLPro set themselves up with. Coast was like, all right, we're not going to care about the laning phase too much. No solo kills, you know, we're all good. We're just going to go even. Then we're going to strategically outplay.
Yep.
Because that is their card that they have over LoLPro. They basically threw down their card and they're like, oh, we're Coast. And LoLPro's like, we're LoLPro. And then the bottom of the card says, weakness is Coast.
Yes. The title effect, maybe?
Yep.
Having some...
Weak against water.
Weak against water. They're fire types. They got some fire underneath them, man.
Yeah, they do.
They're being put on the grill right now, and they don't want to get roasted. So, Cris, he's been key. He hasn't died yet either. No one's died from the side of Coast, excuse me. But he had a KDA of 29 coming into this as well. So, he's trying to keep those stats looking good. And this mid lane, Yusui, he still has been a poke factor, but not really doing too much. He's been a farming machine. Don't get me wrong. He's near perfect CS, but what else has he done?
Yeah, but when you look at like item spikes at this point, Trinity Force, Sork Shoes, Vamp Scepter.
Against, oh man.
Oh yeah.
Death Cap and the Fiends.
Oh yeah.
You're going to have a tough time.
You're going to have a really bad time. It's like French frying when you want a pizza.
Getting some skiing lessons here.
Gonna have a bad time.
I'm down for it. Cris up top, though. He's going to transform. He's going to try to take down this tier 2 in the meantime as well. Does get it, and that is the last of the tier 2s. So now all they got to do is make it up to the inhibitors.
It's not that hard either with this team composition. Jesiz is just going to wave clear. Impaler has wave clear as well. Cris has mild wave clear. Nash has enough range and wave clear. Whereas if you look at the team of LoLPro, their wave clear options aren't as potent. They really just have Yusui. And then they have a little bit from Flaresz. It's a little riskier. And then WizFujiiN's is shorter range too.
And Nash is just going in right now. Look at that. He gets the ball. He just chunks away at Flaresz, and they can't deal with the split either. They just leave Cris alone. He's able to just keep on pushing through towards that inhibitor turret. KEITHMCBRIEF going to get ace in the hold. He can't heal himself, unfortunately. And look at that. They give the shield to Cris. Just hops away.
Shields everywhere. Shield for you. Shield for you.
Got Janna shield.
Two shields for you.
That's a really good combo, too. Janna and Orianna make for a really good dive composition. Look at that. The ball chugged away on Thinkcard, too. If he really wanted to commit it, he could have done Shockwave there. Cris transforms. He's able to tank that tier 3 if he wants, but not going to go completely for it as they want to play this methodical and safe game.
That's Coast right there. Despite having a 13k gold lead 27 minutes into the game, they're still going to wait for the minion wave, still going to wait to tank this up because they know their advantage.
I love what they're doing, too. They just abuse Cris when he's Mega Gnar.
Well, they also have, look at that.
Traps.
Traps everywhere.
Traps, balls, everything you need. All sold at the Coast store.
Zoning potential across the board. Wave clear, look at this. They're going to have to try to engage.
Oh, Monsoon to disengage, but Mash is put down fairly low, and without Cataclysm, they can't initiate. They have Equalizer if they really want to, but you just sidestep away from that and you're good to go. But with Mash low, I believe he doesn't want to be the first death of the team, so I'm sure they're like, all right, Mash, go forward. Yeah, go ahead, be the first death.
Coast probably sitting there like, all right, whoever dies first has to buy Chipotle for everyone.
Burritos for all. And now, with this going forward, they send Mash back. He's not going to risk anything. They try to get into this. Mash right now is in the Cataclysm. They get a 2-man Shockwave to try to cut away from this. Mash is taking down Thinkcard. Gnar using the Gnar ultimate to boost Flare towards Mash, and they do end up killing him with that. I'm not sure if that was a troll or not, but they're trying to disengage and stay alive. Cris is backing off, and Impaler slowing them down with the Void Spikes. The chase is on if they can get any closer, but it doesn't look like they can.
2 for 1 and great rotations out of the fight there by Coast. 2 members, 3 members with flashing HP bars in the top left. Still, not going to give up too much for that, though, because Dragon is up in a minute, and everybody else will be too. Flash is blown on the side of LoLPro and Coast pretty much across the board, except for, Impaler still has his, Sheep still has his. Thinkcard didn't even get to use his.
Nope, he just died.
Yep, they're going to have those ready for the next Dragon fight.
I'm pretty sure Mash right now is going to be talking to his team, be like, why'd you kill me? Not Cris?
Huh?
Yeah.
Chipotle!
Chipotle. That's all I can picture Cris saying. But this is a good push from them. That tier 3 now, up top, is going to be very, very hurt. It's got about 100 health left. So we'll see if they can just commit to that later on. With Dragon and Baron coming up, like you said, this could be the next big objectives. And they can close out the game, possibly with the next Baron.
Yeah, I think they won't even have to have the Baron, but they still have a lot of options available despite that.
It's kind of just that pressure of knowing that they can lose Baron at any time.
Yeah.
And look at that, Keith, man. He's playing with his life.
Half HP, can't heal yourself.
He's going to need to pack it up in the KEITHMCBRIEF case.
Ship it out, go home.
Gotta go home. But
thought he meant business, but nope.
His mind was telling him no, but his body was still hurt, so he had to go back as well.
Yeah. Has to go back to the base, heal himself up there. Getting some regen.
And they can't even get their blue. That's the 3rd blue I believe they've stolen.
They've had complete control of that area. It's pretty much put a damper on what Yusui's been able to do this game in terms of poking with Corki. We haven't really seen the poking monster come out. He's kind of just, I jump in, and then I just do Corki things as if I was an AD carry, but not a hyper-scaling AD carry. It's not like a mid-lane Tristana back in the day.
The mid-game where he was supposed to shine, it came and gone in an instant.
Yeah, by the time he got his Trinity Force spike, Jesiz already had a big AP damage item and a needlessly large rod that he was working.
And this red buff going to get smote away as Impaler does take it.
Means no Baron for a bit.
Yeah. They can't risk it. They can keep the pressure going, though. They have the wards. They have the control fully out there. And I'm surprised they're not committing more towards top. They've let a wave slowly build up there too, so that could take down the turret if they want to keep pressuring down towards bot side. But they're just taking full control, man. This is crisp play.
No, Impaler, they don't see that ward off on the left side of that pink ward.
No one would really ward outside the pit.
Yeah, covering all your options is very hard inside that pit. You have to basically sweep 3 things.
Oh, they see him going in.
They see him going in.
This is the one and only time that LoLPro would be able to catch a sneak out here.
Oh,
a nice sweeper coming out from Sheep.
Couldn't pull the wool over his eyes.
No, you cannot. Cris transformed too into Gnar. Looking to see if he can go in. Throwing out that boulder, but not going to find much. Look at that, just threatening.
Just flexing his Gnar muscles.
The mega muscles, drinks mega
them
milk.
gains.
Them gains, indeed. Drastic gains.
I know, right? I'm going to have to test Gnar after this match for illegal substances. Might be taking some steroids. Not allowed.
He was,
Mundo, what's that? What's that in your shoulder? What's that needle doing?
Mundoroids.
Oh, boy.
All right.
No, he just goes to the gym.
Yes. Works out pretty hard. And let's see. The wards are still there from Coast, so they have complete vision of Baron Pit. They're fine with it. They're going to back off, retreat, buy up, and honestly, I could see them just going straight for Baron. But who wants to risk throwing at that point?
They cleared it. They have vision control of it. LoLPro didn't do anything in that area. And they just backed, purchased all their items, spent all their gold, bought some potions for themselves too. And now they're ready to go. Some elixirs are up. Mash has a blue pot as Caitlyn. He's ready to roll.
Some CDR. All right, I'm down.
Them wave clears.
The trap damage increases
AP.
too. See some nice use of the scrying orb there too.
90 caliber net for the kill.
There you go. It's always fun. They look for Yusui. They get the slow out on top of him. A flag and drag forced out from Thinkcard. They're just bursting him down. Look at that damage. Cris transforms. Untimely, though, but a good flash from Thinkcard as he does get away from that Gnar.
Getting the turret.
Yep, that's the main goal here. Pushing into this base, trying to close something out. They're going straight towards Flare. Boulder toss. Stun doesn't connect, but they're going all the way in. Impaler ace in the hole. Does pick up the kill for Mash as now he can just focus the inhibitor. 2-man shockwave comes in. Distance on top of it. That damage. Jesse picks up one. The other goes over to Impaler, and now that inhibitor is forfeit, and this is looking like game.
I don't know if they'll be able to get it off of this wave, though.
Not
it's
fully.
going to take a bit. They have 2 members still up. Yusui has some decent wave clear, and I don't really know if they have any waves in. I think it'll be a bit of a stall from LoLPro.
If anything, they're losing at least these Nexus turrets.
Yeah, these Nexus turrets, one's going to go down at least. And no, they're just going to go for that next one. They have so much tank.
4-man Cataclysm comes in, but he just dies. He just melts it completely. Yasui's going to be the next target, and Ace comes out. Match Me gets it, and that's game.
Yeah, I was thinking just like LoLPro was, they can't end it right now. We'll just wave clear, but there it goes. Coast is going to take game 1.
All right, so that's a very strong way to start off. You show yourself how strong you are on Coast, and man, that's methodical by definition. 16-1, was it, at the end of the game?
Yeah.
Just, what do you do to combat that?
Well, first off, you don't use your TP to get back in the lane when Cris isn't using his to do so.
You forfeit a little bit of creeps.
Yeah, you walk in, you're like, all right, I missed some CS.
Woo, I can farm more.
And otherwise, you're like, oh, I missed 2 kills and a dragon, which is a little bit worth more.
That might have been the nail in the coffin early on, too.
Yeah, and especially with what the win conditions that each team had set up for themselves. Sorry, English is hard sometimes.
It's a very complicated
I'm glad they put me on the desk. My English has improved. So, just the way that they played their win conditions on both sides, you could definitely see that Coast knew what they were doing. They had a very comfortable, methodical style, and then LoLPro was trying to play as a team, but they're all just very mechanically sound at what they do, and they're all like, let's win lane. Let's win lane. That's their whole go-to strategy. And when you're playing against a team that's like, we're okay with losing lane by 10 CS, you're just not going to kill me, and then they group up and fight and they win, it's really frustrating to play against if your style is just go kill people.
All right, so we got to think about the next game. What